Hi everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge. It's the start of another week. Everything's looking good with Manchester United. Lots to talk about this morning. I hope you're all doing very well. Get involved as always if you're on the live. If not, leave your comments and smash a like. Let's start off then. Well, let me give you a summary of what we're going to be talking about this morning. Baleba to Manchester United deal off according to latest reports. What are our thoughts about that as Manchester United look at other targets? Ineos have apparently refused to sanction the signing of a certain player I agree with, Lewandowski. We'll talk about that as well. Should we be building a future around Casemiro, who will be 34 in February? Are some of our fans losing the plot or are they ahead of the game? Also, I want to talk about three players that Ruben Amorim's been proved right about. And I want to defend Jamie Carragher. He said that the sacking of Ruben Amorim was inevitable. Why is that a positive? And why are people making such a big point of it when actually we can spin it into a huge positive as well? And also we'll be talking about what's next for Manchester United. Big week ahead, big 2 away games coming up, and the talk of where Manchester United can go this season. So lots to get into this morning. Hope you're doing well. Isn't it nice? Isn't it great to be starting a week with a smile on our face, looking forward to, another game on Saturday, and Manchester United finally making steady progress. It's great. This is what we want. And, I sense that from this community and other communities as well. I think people are actually enjoying what we're in at the moment. Monday morning at work or talking to people just saying, what a good weekend that was. What a good weekend that was. And it was a very good weekend for us. And hopefully we can have many more like it. Who it wasn't a good weekend for was Carlos Baleba of Brighton. And what we're getting this morning from numerous sources is that Manchester United's stance on Baleba has changed. Remember, in the summer, they were in talks for, I think, a week. David Ornstein broke it. Man United are in talks with Baleba. Brighton let it happen. Man United was speaking to his agent and the player. And as we know, his reaction to that has meant that he's not played well this season. Brighton put a price of £100 million. Now, I said this at the time. And again, this is why we'll talk about what Carragher said in a bit. But this is why I really do embrace people getting it wrong. I said, and look, I'm not afraid to say this because some people will be afraid to say this. I said in the summer when we were going after Carlos Baleba, remember, you cannot pretend that you weren't saying this because the Man United fan base cancelled a protest because we thought we were signing Baleba. Let's just jump back into the summer. There was a protest planned for the Arsenal game against the Glazer ownership. The 58 got a load of abuse and shut down by online fans saying, don't do a protest, everything's going well. And that was because we thought we were signing Baleba. So everybody was on that bandwagon. And I said at the time, we need to offer Brighton something that they're going to take. And I felt that £80 million plus 20 or 30 in achievable add-ons might get that deal done. Brighton wanted 100 because that's what they got for Caicedo. And Man United apparently offered 60. 60 was never going to get accepted. The deal didn't happen. Here we are in late October, and I'm sort of sat there going, not that Man United got it right. Some people might say, well, Man United got it right. 60 million was the right price. In the summer, it wasn't. He'd had a brilliant season. I wouldn't say Man United were right. I'd say we were wrong. I would say, thank God the deal didn't happen. I wouldn't be doing the deal at all. It's not a price thing for me. It's not like, 60 million is the right price. I don't think he looked like a £60 million player either. I think this is not about, Brighton wanting too much. It's about Man United not bidding at all. I think that's where I am at the moment. So that's where we were in the summer. What we're getting this morning is that United are certainly still interested in Baleba, but there's no prospect of further deals anytime soon or talks. They're not. What's the wording? They're looking at other targets, basically. We're not ruling anything out, but we're looking at other targets. And that will be a kick in the teeth for Baleba in his camp and potentially Brighton as well. But look, sometimes it's not always in the interests of the club. I mean, it's very reminiscent of what happened to City last year and what happened to Liverpool this year. You win the league, everyone in the summer says you're going to win the league again. And then the season starts and you fall apart. City fell apart, Liverpool are falling apart, and everyone's going, God, who would have thought that was going to happen? City were favourites last year, Liverpool were favourites this year, fall apart. In the summer, Brighton are sat there, like cock of the walk, going, hey, look at us. We want 100 million for Baleba, or we'll wait till next summer and there'll be a bidding war. Now it's like, good luck with your bidding war. I don't think you're going to get any. You're probably not even going to get 60 million pounds for him at the moment. So things can change. And I think the positive for United is that we should be perusing other options. This weekend, this last few weeks has proven. I loved what Wayne Rooney said about Mbeumo. I'll talk about that in a moment. But the type of profile of player that we need to bring into Manchester United is very, very clear now. It's very, very obvious. So, look, obviously some of this is paper talk, stuff in the Mirror. You got stuff in team talk, all over the place this morning that Man United have cooled their interest in Baleba and are looking and prioritising other targets. I mean, that's not even breaking news, really. It's common sense. And I wouldn't judge a player on one game. But as I said to you in the preview, I don't even know if Hertzler should have picked him in that game. And in hindsight, he shouldn't have. He's had a bad season. He had a bad game on Saturday. And now, it's the end of October and this lad cannot get his game back. He can't. He's rattled so much, he can't get his game back. And I sort of watched him against United on Saturday and I was like, he just looks confused to me. He doesn't know whether he's meant to be playing well or whether he's meant to be playing badly. He even had that Instagram post, didn't he, that he posted before the game with a little wink on it about finally coming to Old Trafford or something. And you think, what a prat. What a prat. Like, we are not impressed by that sort of behaviour. We've just got rid of a young idiot in Garnacho. And I'm not saying he's like Garnacho at all. I think Baleba could still come to United and be a really good player. But he's rattled by whatever happened in the summer. He's making bad choices. He's doing, he's not performing on the pitch. And, somebody should be around him saying, going into this game on Saturday, forget wanting to play at Old Trafford, forget wanting to play at Manchester United. I think if Mbeumo was coming with Brentford or Cunha was coming with Wolves, you know exactly what you get. There'd be no doubt, whether they love Man United or not, I'm playing for Brentford or I'm playing for Wolves. And the best way I can get a move to Man United is to be man of the match for Wolves or man of the match for Brentford. I remember when United applauded Ronaldo, R9, off the pitch for his hat-trick at Old Trafford. Like, United fans are not going to go, Baleba's man of the match and won the game for Brighton, let's not sign him. They're going to go, that's why we need to sign him. That's why our midfield shit. But he seemed to come with the wrong... He just seemed to be very confused. He wasn't totally rubbish, but his whole season's been like this. There's little moments, but he's been subbed off after an hour every game because ultimately his performance is bad. And at the weekend against us, it was like, there was that rubbish shot over the bar. There was some bad tackles. He got the yellow card. There were some bad passes. But it was men against boys. Like Casemiro and Bruno were better than Baleba by a very long way. And we know, well, some of us know that's not our future, but he has at the moment, he is ruining his chances of signing for Manchester United. And that's not based on one game. Like, he's been bad all season. So I think United are wise. And sometimes in life, it's a little bit like, have we dodged a bullet? And I think at the moment, United are of the mindset that maybe this isn't the right type of player. And the scouting will change. And especially look, the story goes on to say that United are prioritising Adam Wharton over Baleba. Let me just run a poll on that, actually, because I like to do a poll. Either or. We're going to do 3 of these this morning, but let's sort of winner stays on. So let's do Elliot Anderson first, Baleba or Anderson, because Wharton will come in a moment. But apparently Manchester United are prioritising Adam Wharton over Baleba now. I'm quite chilled out about this. I think in relation to the midfield, we've had this conversation multiple times, and I really do think that what you've got is a situation whereby it's October and we can't sign Baleba, Wharton, Anderson or Stiller in January anyway, for multiple reasons. Stuttgart won again. They're in the top 4 in the Bundesliga. They're having an amazing season. Crystal Palace are having a good season and they don't want to sell till the summer. Forest don't want to sell Anderson till the summer, and Brighton, as we know, don't want to sell Baleba till the summer. So none of these players are coming in until the summer anyway. What I think we should be doing in January is signing Conor Gallagher or a player like that. In the summer, we've got to go and sign one of those 4 I've just mentioned. But nobody says that you can't talk to all 4. And actually, we probably need to talk to all four, because if we go, I don't know, I want Adam Wharton, and we go all in on Wharton, and Wharton's like, I am interested in you, but you know what? Real Madrid have just come in. I can't turn it down. Even though United are in the Champions League, it's Real Madrid. I want to go to Real Madrid. United can't be sat there going, get me the phone, get me the phone. Like, we need to talk to 3 or 4 of these people anyway. And we need to sell what we're all about. So for me, it's like, maybe Baleba has a brilliant second half to the season and grows up and finds consistency. And we're all Baleba again. I guarantee at some point in the next 6 months, we'll be going, let's go and get Baleba. Let's go and get Baleba. He's back playing well again. At some point, you know, Elliot Anderson might play well against us next week, and it'll be, let's go for him. Stiller might look like he's one of the best midfielders in the world. The key is to keep them all lined up. And over the next 6 months, assess character, performance, the lot. And then we move. But right here, right now, I think this news is absolutely spot on, and it encourages me that United can be fluid and adaptable in the transfer market. Because they look in the past and it's like, we want Sancho, we want Sancho, we want Sancho. He's going out on the piss. Well, no, I don't think he did go out on the piss. He's late for training, etc. I'm just throwing stories at Dortmund. He's late for training at Dortmund, which he was, I think. We still want Sancho. We want Sancho. We want Sancho. What about Dembele? We want Sancho. We want Sancho. And we get very tunnel visioned. I like the fact that we're going, we wanted Baleba. We like Baleba. He's a very high profile player, but right here, right now, we're parking that to look at something else. And we assess that over the summer. Right here, right now, he is not a Man United priority. That can change very, very quickly. He needs to perform for Brighton. But right here, right now, he shouldn't be. And I think United are right about that. My personal feeling is, and I know some of you agree with me this, is that I look at Cunha and I look at Mbeumo and I look at what they've done at Manchester United in a short period of time. And I look at what they did at Wolves and Brentford. And I don't see a drop-off. Certainly not in the last 18 months. I don't see a drop-off in mentality and approach and professionalism. And we need those types of players. We can't nurture players really either. I think this is a really important thing with any player that we bring in now. We can't be a nurturer of talent. We've got enough players to nurture in relation to Lemens, Yoro, Ahmad still learning, maybe Mainu. We don't really need to buy any more players to nurture because we haven't got the time. Great comment last night from Mojo. If we buy a player that's going to be good in 3 years' time, what will De Ligt be in 3 years' time? Where will Bruno be in 3 years' time? We've got a lot of players that sort of need to be competing between the next 1 and 4 years. So I think what we've learned with Cunha and Mbeumo is that we need to bring players in for the now, 100%. And look, there's a lot to be positive around Manchester United at the moment. And you know what? I can see some people moaning, saying that we should still be going for Baleba, but I don't. We're Manchester United. And if somebody shows red flags before we've actually bought them, you don't commit. You might have a dream house, right? You might have a dream. In fact, let's do it better. You might have a dream girl or boy, right? And you meet them. You go out on loads of dates. You do the deal. Everything's looking really, really good. And then you go on your first holiday together, and you pop in the bathroom. They've done a turd. They've not flushed it, and you go, that's non-negotiable for me. I can't deal with that. That's a big red flag. It's a big shit in the toilet that's not been flushed away. You're fired. You enjoy the rest of the holiday. You say thank you very much, and then you just stop taking their calls. And I think that, you know, in life, whether it's a relationship or it's a house or it's a car or it's a footballer, you can look at a player and go, they've got everything I want. Let's go and buy them. And for whatever reason, you have to put that purchase off. And when you put it off, you suddenly see something that makes you go, shit, I don't like that. We're not back in the bathroom looking at the toilet again. I'm talking about the footballer. And I think there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong in saying I made a bad judgment call there. The evidence I had, I was going to do that. And the evidence I have today is different than yesterday. I'm not doing it anymore. The worst thing you can do is go, I really, really, and we've all done this, you know, whether it's a car, whether it's a computer game, whatever. I really, really, really want this. I really, really, really want it. And then it comes to buying it and there's evidence that it's not a good thing, but you go, but I really, really want it. I don't care. I'm going to do it anyway. And United have done that for 10 years. And I think I like this new approach because we can't afford to miss. There was a brilliant comment, probably by me in the summer. I think it was someone in the comment, and they went, Liverpool can afford to miss. Arsenal can afford to miss. Man City can afford to miss because they're already up in the top 4. They can make signings and they can afford to miss. Like Cherki could be a flop. It doesn't really matter. Even Isak for Liverpool, a lot of money, but they're probably going to still be a good club without him. Arsenal can afford for Zubimendi to flop because they've still got a lot of good players. We can't afford to miss. We can't. We've got to get every player right. And we will have some flops, but if we tick every single box and they flop, then everyone can go, you know, what more can you do? It just didn't work out. But when you see the red flags, I think United have to avoid them, certainly. It's interesting in the poll, 74% of you would take Anderson over Baleba, which means there's no point in even doing Wharton because he'll batter him as well. Let's just grab some of your comments on this. So Baleba on social media, Bellingham with nightmare agents. We must avoid this at all costs. Don't need that back in the club, says Junk Yard James. I don't really understand with Baleba and the social media. I don't really understand with Baleba and the post that he deleted. I don't really understand with Baleba why his performances have dropped off because he didn't get a move. Personally, last season, he would be the player. I completely understand why Amorim and the club are talking to him. I was massively excited when we moved for him in the summer because there were so many games last year. I was like, this player is brilliant. He's absolutely brilliant. And then this season, we've seen absolutely nothing of it. And it's so obvious that it's to do with not getting the move. That's a mentality problem. You know, that is a mentality problem. It doesn't mean he's arrogant. It doesn't mean he's, you know, self-centered. It just means he's rattled. He might be arrogant. He might be self-centered. He might just be disappointed, but it's rattled him. It doesn't matter whether you're like, it doesn't matter what the reason is. It's a concern because at the highest level, it's about consistency. If he comes to Man United and he gets sent off and then he goes and has a bad 2 months because he's rattled by it, that's not what we need. That's my concern with Baleba. It's like he's a young player. He can work through it, but we have had our fingers burnt with a number of players, especially younger players, who, you know, this is why Cunha and Mbeumo are so good. They don't bring that with them because they're not being nurtured. And I think at the moment, Baleba needs to have a long, hard look and go and, you know, if he wants to move to Man United, it's very, very simple. I don't mind if Baleba's a Man United player next summer. If it's the player he was last season, what he needs to do if he wants to come to Man United, because I tell you what, subtle Instagram posts about, you know, well, finally at Old Trafford, that ain't going to please Brighton fans, and it certainly doesn't please Man United fans. Most people I look around Baleba at the moment are like, I don't want him. I don't want him. So he's put himself in a position that really I feel sorry for him. You know, he was at Brighton, Man United approached him, he's been unsettled, but his reaction to that, somebody around him needs to say, this isn't doing you any good. Man United are looking at other options. Brighton aren't happy with your performance and you're getting subbed off after 60 minutes. What you need to do, if you want to go back to Man United or Real Madrid or whatever, or you want to keep your Brighton spot, let's be honest, over the next 6 months between now and May, you need to be Brighton's best player. You need to win Player of the Year for Brighton. You need to be consistent. And if he does that, then maybe the move comes back. But at the moment, you can't commit. And let's not forget, Brighton are going to ask 100 million quid. I wouldn't give them 60 now. I think 60 is too much for that. I think there's baggage now. I'd be like, Brighton will say, well, you've caused it. I'd go, no, we've exposed an issue that you didn't know was there. Somebody tries to buy him and his performance goes off a cliff. That's not a £100 million player, is it? So, you know, for me, United, I wouldn't say we've dodged a bullet. I'd say we've exposed something, and we should have bought a midfielder in the summer, but I'm sort of glad we didn't get Baleba for, you know, well, we were never going to pay £100 million, were we? So it'd be interesting how it plays out, that's for sure. AFCON, Ahmad and Mbeumo, Mazraoui will miss many games. It might cost us the European qualification. Why did our recruitment team not see this, says Jay? Oh, you know what? This AFCON argument, just very, very quickly, because I appreciate that sometimes we have to deviate. This AFCON competition thing is making me laugh, right? When it was Liverpool away Brighton at home, Forest away, Spurs away. Amorim was going to lose 4 games and get the sack in the November international break. We've won 2 in a row. With the AFCON, everything's going to fall apart because we haven't got Ahmad, we haven't got Mbeumo, and we haven't got Mazraoui. Mazraoui's not even starting at the moment, so that's irrelevant. And Ahmad, we can play Delo there. So, he can play there straight away. And Mbeumo, we could play Mount and Cunha. We could play Xerxes and Cunha. We could play Bruno there and put Mainu in the midfield. So we have got options. Obviously, Mbeumo is a big loss, but Mo Salah plays for Egypt. There are other players that go in the AFCON. What you're basically saying is we shouldn't be buying players who play in the AFCON because that's the only way that you're going to deal with that. And based on the importance of Mbeumo, I would not be going, we shouldn't have bought Mbeumo because he's going to play in the FA Cup. And look, this is what Wayne Rooney had to say, which I think is absolutely spot on. And many of you have said it. He said, look, part of the success United are having is down to the form of forward Bryan Mbeumo. Rooney said, look, I've got to admit, I wasn't convinced when United bought him to the club in the summer for 65 million. But his energy, his work rate, his desire is what you need to be a United player. I was a little bit unsure, but I think what he's showing is that he belongs there. He's been consistent with his performance. I think that's the main thing. If you're consistently getting into the right positions and getting chances, you will score 20 goals a season. And I think we've spoken about it here. Rooney speaking about it there. This is the blueprint for what United need to sign in the future because the consistency is a massive word that doesn't exist at Man United anymore. His energy, his work rate, his talent, his desire. These things are all for me, there's an overarching word of consistency and there are ingredients to it. It's like the best tasting cake. What have you put in there to make that cake? What are the ingredients? Because it's not just cake. There's stuff that makes it. And looking at Mbeumo, what are the ingredients that make him so important and so consistent? Some of it's experience, like he's in his mid-20s, the Brentford experience, the journey to Brentford. His journey to there is part of it. His desire, his passion, his ability, his work rate, all these things feed into consistency and mentality. And, it isn't rocket science. There is an ingredient there are ingredients that go into this type of player. Cunha has it and Mbeumo has it. There will be other players that have it and Manchester United need to look at that. I mean, look, I'm looking at Brentford at the moment. We're not going to buy this player, but you look at, I can name you 2 players that we won't buy that have it. And they're both attackers. Shard at Brentford is looking like a very good, astute signing. And Semenyo at Bournemouth is looking like a very astute signing as well. And there are others. There's probably a couple at Sunderland, to be honest with you. Elliot Anderson at Forest has been mentioned. There are these types of players out there, and they're the sort of players we need to go for. Definitely. But look, look, I feel very positive this morning. I hope many of you do. What I don't want Manchester United to do is make mistakes. As I said on the show last night, let's buy a midfielder in January. Let's 100% do that. And if we don't, that's on the ownership. Let's keep buying players like Mbeumo and Cunha. Not necessarily players that are 25. They can be 22, but they've got to have those ingredients. If I was in the recruitment team at United, I'd be like, all those ingredients that make Mbeumo, let's have a graph. Let's have a tick box thing, right? I'm going to create a tick box of a Man United player, right? And every player that you put forward, I want to tick them all. And what I want to tick off is experience, desire, work rate, talent, all these things and a few more. And if we don't tick them, we don't buy them. If you come in here with world-class talent, but they haven't got consistency, work rate, etc., mentality, we're binning it off. Even if it's going to be even if on their day, they're one of the best players the world's ever seen. If they don't have mentality, desire, work rate, we bin them off because that's what we need. And, that's the way that Manchester United need to look at things now. And hopefully that's the way that we are going to look at things, because if we don't, then I think that we might revert back. And goes back to the Baleba conversation, goes back to the Mbeumo conversation. United need to be we can't make any more mistakes on recruitment. We've made some good choices this summer. Andrew Park, thank you very much for your super chat. Too much focus on proving opinions wrong, says Arch. From who? I don't really get what that's all about. Updates on Yulman, please, says Marker. Well, I don't have any update on Yulman at all. I mean, he probably is a player that should be. I mean, I would say the 5 midfield targets for United at the moment will be Stiller, Anderson, Wharton, Baleba, Yulman. I think they will be the 5. I think there are people like Man Utd, Conor Gallagher, and Joe Bellingham who are potentials for, but I'd say the top 5 for the summer will be the 5 that I've mentioned there. Interestingly, the Telegraph this morning was saying that Man United put an offer in, and so did Spurs, for Semenyo for £50 million in the summer, but it got rejected. I just say bullshit. I've said this so many times. I got told this in April. We haven't made any contact with Semenyo. It doesn't make any sense. Where did this 50 million come from, and why were we buying another number 10? We always wanted Cunha. Cunha was done in April, but we had to wait till May to finalise it. And we always wanted Mbermo because we were working on that one for a long time as well. So where does Semenyo, where does the 50 million pound Semenyo offer come from? It doesn't make any sense. Again, we will always be linked to certain players. Semenyo is a good player, but he was never on the menu for Man United because we locked in, and again, it's another positive. We locked in on Cunha and we locked in on Mbermo as our top 2, and we got them. Maybe Semenyo was option 3, but we never bid because we got the players we wanted. Do you have your eye on other possible alternatives except Wharton, Baleba, Stiller, Anderson? I really like Onana at Villa. We might have to. I mean, there's no guarantee. I mean, we're talking about a summer signing here. We might have to do that. As I said, there's a few others there. Yulman at Sporting Lisbon is certainly going to be an option as well. Manu Kone at Roma. Yeah, there are others, yeah. Mark, will you admit you have got it wrong saying Liverpool have spent big and so should we? It's great that we have ended our spending. See you later. I've had enough of the internet for today.
What is he talking about? Why do I have to put up with this shit? What is he talking about? I can't believe it, mate. I can't fucking believe it.
Sorry, I just had to take a little walk there. Hyen says, will I admit I got it wrong saying Liverpool have spent big and so should we? It's great that we've ended our ending spree. Mate, where do you think the 2 players I've just been talking about for the last 2 minutes came from? Cunha and Mbermo cost us 130 million quid, mate. 130 million. They didn't just turn up on a free. If we want to get back where we need to be, we need to spend a lot of money on quality players. What your brain is doing is going, you can spend money and be shit. Yes, you can. But we've just spent the last 20 minutes talking about the blueprint of the profile of player that we need to bring in and why people like Baleba might not be it on the evidence presented in front of us. We need to spend. Cunha cost 62 million pounds. And Mbermo cost 65 million pounds. We probably slightly paid on Mbermo, but we got the right player. And who cares about an extra 5 million if it's the right player? I don't know what you're drinking this morning, but stop. Would Amorim even pick anyone over Casemiro and Bruno if one comes in January and they stay? How do we progress? If 2 of the 4 come in, it's still Bruno +1, says Jack. I just think on Casemiro, I'll come back to Casemiro. There's something I want to say about that, but we need to buy 2 midfielders. Casemiro's gone in the summer. He's not going to say, I love it in Manchester. I'll take a 50% pay cut when the MLS and the Saudis will give me what I'm paid now and probably more. I know you've had high praise for Stiller, but I've heard reports he's quite slow. Don't you think we should buy a Premier League proven player? Says Pro Forever. Yeah, because obviously every decent player in the Premier League is Premier League proven. I mean, Zubimendi at Arsenal's having a great season. He came from the Premier League as well. I think experience is key, but Premier League proven doesn't always work out. So, I don't think we should just exclusively buy Premier League proven players. No, because I think traditionally you can always get better value for money outside of the Premier League as well. I just think it comes down to the blueprint of the player. And, you look at somebody like Donny van der Beek. Admittedly, I liked the look of Donny van der Beek, but something was wrong there. Mentality, whatever. Like, it's about recruitment. AFCON, done that. Semenyo would be perfect for left wing back. Any thoughts? Says MA Khan. I don't know. I don't see that at all. I know it's working with Ahmad, but I don't see that at all. I think he's way too attacking. I don't see that. I don't see that. I think it might work. I think two wingers like Ahmad and Semenyo might work if you're at Sporting, where most of the teams you play aren't that good. I think in the Premier League, with the midfield of Bruno and Casemiro and two wingers on the wing and two tens and a striker, it would be great to watch. But I think we'd get exploited. I don't think that's the plan, no. That's why United were reluctant to play £100 million, says JE. I don't think so. If United knew about Baleba's red flags, I don't think they'd have gone for him at all. Probably positivity from the wins leaking into this, but I think we might try to get one of them in January and get another one of them in the summer. Might just be hopeful, says Arch. We haven't got the money, mate. If you're talking about Wharton, Anderson, Baleba, Stiller, we won't be going for them in January because we won't have it'll cost you more in January. If Palace are willing to sell Wharton for 70 million in the summer, you're probably going to need to give them 85 in January just to make them think about it. We won't have that type of money. We do need to buy a midfielder in January, but that's got to be a Conor Gallagher on a loan to buy. The major signing will have to be in the summer. Morning, Mark. If United do cool on Baleba, I think they'll still want that physical ball-carrying profile. Manu Kone could be very interesting to keep an eye on. Definitely, yeah. We need midfielders. So what about Mainu and Agate, says Rob? Well, they're either good enough or they're not, Rob. Jay Devon, welcome to Members Club. Thank you very much for you as well. Andrew Park, thank you very much for your super chat. He says, Baleba wants to play alongside fellow countryman Mbeumo. Perhaps he's doing this on purpose. What, damaging the move? I mean, I don't think Manchester United are going to look at Baleba and go, he's definitely the player that we want, a player that will down tools and perform badly to get a move. I mean, he needs to start playing well. Are you worried about the AFCON? No, spoke about that, Melps. My mate said to me that Sesko is just a more expensive, slightly better version of Weghorst. What's your opinion on that? Says Connor. I think I was doing a watch along yesterday of the Arsenal game, and in the live chat, people were literally slagging off Eze, saying he's a load of shit, and then he scored an absolute banger. And I think people are just, I don't know what it is. I think it's low attention spans. I think people are just eager. It's almost like some people just wake up in a day and go, I've got to say something controversial 5 times a day. And people can't relax. People can't be patient. Sesko has had an up and down start at United, but ultimately I'm very happy with it as he adjusts to the Premier League and he's a young striker. I'm very, very happy with him. But some people just want to know today whether he's a flop or he's a hit. And obviously there's a journey to both of those things. That's the way I look at it. The ages of De Ligt, Cunha, Mbeumo, Ahmad, Lemens, Yoro, Dorgo, Sesko is huge. Mentally watching this team is good currently, potentially years worth, says James. Love that. Andrew Park, thank you very much. Appreciate you. And I want to ask about Casemiro, but there was something here. Tabiso says, here's the Amorim out's latest spin. Claim they were only Amorim out because he was too rigid. Then praise recent changes he made. None they argued for, even though he always made alterations in the systems. It's pathetic, says Tabiso. And Siad says, United will go for a midfielder if we're in the title challenge. Well, I hope you're right about that. I really do. Look, it's interesting. I've seen a lot of people taking a pop at Jamie Carragher because Jamie Carragher was on Monday Night Football a few weeks ago and he said the sacking of Amorim is inevitable. So, as I said, the world we live in now, 100% people are going to take those comments and go, look at that idiot. Obviously, he's a Liverpool fan as well. Look at that idiot. What a prat, this, that, and the other. I look at it in a different way. I look at it and I go, at that time, as much as I hated him saying it, he was probably on a very strong argument to say that Amorim's sacking is inevitable, because that would have been in the back, the backlash of losing to City, losing to Brentford. We'd had Grimsby. I think there was a time where a lot of you were Amorim out, and I'm reading the comments and I'm going, he is sacking himself. I said it. He's sacking himself. What's the difference between his sacking is inevitable and he's sacking himself? I was never hammering him out, but I felt he was sacking himself. So I think that when Carragher said that, you can't ridicule him now for saying it, because that was very real. It was only a few short weeks ago that it felt like it was inevitable. But I take it as a positive, because if when Carragher said that, it was relevant. I mean, I certainly remember him saying it, and I don't remember a show or a super chat or a comment or a tweet from anybody going, look at him, he's a moron. Like, he was probably saying it at a time where a lot of people were feeling it. But the positive for me is, look at where we are now. Does that not reinforce the job that Amorim has done to go from a point where the majority felt that he was sacking himself, or it was inevitably was going to get sacked, to a point where we're here talking about potentially Champions League football in a future for Amorim at Man United that we all want to see? It's a short space of time, and that can be a warning on how one extreme can move to another. But it can also be a huge positive of the journey we've gone on from the brink to relative security and optimism. So I don't mock Carragher for saying it, because I think most of you were saying it, and I was certainly saying it. It felt like he was sacking himself. So to come back from that point, not many do. I've said it before with Ten Hag. I've said it before with Jose. I think it gets to a point where you have to be Jose out, because you look at football in general and go, managers don't come back from this. They don't come back from this. Now, I don't think Amorim was at that point, but I think he was very close to the point of no return. I really, really do. So I see it as a positive when I see people mocking Jamie Carragher for saying, how he said it's inevitable he's going to get the sack, and look at it now. I just think that is another positive. It's another string to Amorim's bow to be able to go, look, you were very, very close, and look at what he's done, and look at how he's turned it around, because I don't think a lot of people saw that coming. As for the argument that Amorim outers are now saying that Amorim in because he's shown his adaptability, well, if people are too up their own arse to acknowledge that they're flip-flops, or that they don't want to get proven wrong, and they want to justify that they've gone from screaming, get out of my club, you absolute fraud, to I'm actually Amorim in now because he's tweaked the system a little bit. Well, you can make your own minds up on that. All I would say is the system hasn't changed at all. It hasn't changed at all. The reason we're second or first in the season this year for long balls is because we've been going more direct all season. The reason our XG is a lot higher than it was last year is because we've been playing the same way all season. We played well against Arsenal on the opening game. We played well against Fulham in the first 20 minutes. We played well against Arsenal and well against Fulham in the same way we did against Chelsea, in the same way we did against Sunderland, and in the same way we did against Brighton. The only difference is we've beaten Liverpool and Brighton. We're not playing any different. All season, we've mentioned on this show, touches in the box, XG has been high ever since Arsenal. There's nothing, if people want to justify being Amorim out in the October international break, and now they're Amorim in because he changed something in the October international break, he didn't. He literally didn't. He's still playing a 3-4-3, and he's still playing the same style he was before. The results are getting better. And maybe that's because players are getting used to each other. Lemens is in goal. It could be multiples, but we've not changed the system. If you think that's what's happened, we haven't. We are getting better results, but we could have beat Fulham. We could have been 3-0 up against Fulham at half time. We drew the game. We could have beat Arsenal. We lost the game. So, if Bruno tracks Foden, we were actually playing very well in the Etihad until Foden scored. So the signs have been there. It's very similar to Liverpool. Liverpool won their first 5 games in a row. They've lost their last 4 Premier League games in a row. They haven't shifted. I've watched the Liverpool a lot this season. When they beat Bournemouth on the opening day of the season, they played pretty much the same as they did against Brentford on Saturday. What happened is they won some of them games and they've lost some of them games. Just think, why can't people just say, I was Amorim out, I thought he was a load of shit, but actually, I might be wrong. I think he's showing something I want to get behind. So what? So what? What does that matter? Look, Look at Casemiro and Bruno. I don't think they're a good midfield. I really don't. But on Saturday, they played really well. They did play really well. The jury's still out, but they did play really well. Why can't we just go, you know what? They played really well. People go, you don't like Bruno and Casemiro in the midfield. I don't. But they played really well, and they definitely should start against Forest. But you don't like them. But they played really well. I don't like them as a pair, but they played really well. You've got to give them the chance. That moves me on to something else I wanted to ask you, actually. Would you keep Casemiro? Because Casemiro has a bit of a cult following. For me, he's one of the best holding midfielders of my lifetime, actually. Certainly in the last decade, but him, you talk about people like Busquets, you talk about Rodri, Kimmich. Casemiro's name has to be in there as one of the best holding midfielders of the last decade in the world game. He's not that player anymore. He's still got, you could go down your local park with Paul Scholes today, and he'd still do things that take your breath away. But he wouldn't be able to play in the midfield in a Premier League game because he hasn't got the legs. And I think with Casemiro, it's almost like when you say Casemiro's lost it and then he scores or he plays a good pass, people go, well, he hasn't. It's like, well, Paul Scholes can play that pass. But what he has lost is sharpness and speed, and he ain't going to get that back. So for me, I move Casemiro on at the first opportunity because the money we pay is ridiculous for the player that we now get. That doesn't mean he's not our best option in the midfield at the moment. But I've seen a few people saying, oh, Casemiro, he sat haters down at the weekend. Well, one, I don't think anybody actually is a hater. They just don't, they want to move him on. And these people are saying, we should keep him. Let's build the midfield around Casemiro for the next 2 years. And I'm like, the next 2 years, I'm not even sure whether I'd build the midfield around him for the next 2 months. I feel that there will be games where we go, why is he playing in the midfield? He hasn't got the legs for it. It worked against Brighton, but I mean, maybe one game a week he can do it, to be fair, but I still would be moving him on at the end of his contract, and I still think United will, and I think he'll want to go as well. Also, adding to the fact that he's not like Bruno, he's not 31. He's 34 in February, like 34 in February. There's not many, I can't think of many holding midfielders in a midfield two who are running around in the top six, because we are a top six club now, at 34. So for me, Bruno and Casemiro, let's get what we can out of them this season. Certainly don't think Ugarte and Mainu are pushing them enough, and I think that needs to be acknowledged. But I wouldn't be looking to extend a contract of a player who's going to be 34 in February. I think that for me would be, unless he wants to take 100 grand a week, which would be over a 2/3 reduction in his wage, wouldn't it? So yeah, if he was 28, I'd do it, but not at 34. I think sometimes you've got to look at the legs and go, I acknowledge that, even though I didn't want to acknowledge it a while ago. 70% of you wouldn't give him a new contract, 30% would. Interestingly, I missed this yesterday morning, and I don't know why, but the Sunday Mirror reported that Ineos will not be sanctioning any move for Robert Lewandowski, even if the recruitment team put it forward. Their reasoning behind that is that they want to move away from expensive older players and build something that's more sustainable, both financially and future planning as well. I think this is an intelligent move. We had some stories about Lewandowski last week. One story was linking Amorim to wanting to do it. Lewandowski would be 38 if he signed for United next summer. He would want big money. I mean, I'm glad there is at least a line being drawn under that to say that this makes absolutely no sense. One of the best strikers in the world still, but not a striker that Manchester United should be looking to bring in. Absolutely not. I'm sure we will be bringing the striker in, and I think that's going to be a recurring theme over the next few months, moving toward. I mean, I don't think we'll bring a striker in January, as much as it would help us, but I definitely think it's a player that I definitely think it's a position that we will be looking to utilise, and over the next 2 transfer windows up to the summer. But it can't be someone like Lewandowski. I mean, look, we're probably going to give Harry Maguire a new contract. He's 33 in March. And last week, I think a lot of people would have said, yes, give Harry Maguire a new contract. He scores the goal against Liverpool. He's not even on the bench against Brighton. And is that not what Ineos are basically saying? It's like, look, Lewandowski's a big name. Casemiro's a big name. But they're not 28, they're 38. They're not 24, they're going to be 34. They're not 23, they're going to be 33. Harry does pick up injuries now. One of the things I liked about Maguire when we first got him was he was never injured. He does pick up injuries now. And you know what? He would have been chomping at the bit. He scored a winning goal at Anfield. You know, that injury must be significant because he'd run through brick walls to be playing against Brighton, having scored the winner at Anfield. You'd be running through brick walls to be part of that atmosphere. And he's picked up an injury. So, look, Man United, I think we will keep Maguire. I understand why, for the experience, but it's got to be the right wage because how many games is he actually going to end up playing for us, you know? But yeah, intelligent decisions need to be made. And intelligence, look, I don't want to talk about Rashford because Barcelona fans are, you know, if you think it's demanding at United, it's possibly more at Barcelona, especially when they lose to Real Madrid. So Rashford's getting a bit of stick, apparently. I didn't watch El Clasico. I don't know how Barcelona played. I don't know how Rashford played, but apparently he's getting a bit of stick from some fans. I'll leave Rashford out of this, but in a way, Amorim was right. Amorim, you know, it's almost you could walk around with a T-shirt at the moment with Amorim was right on it, because what is he wrong about at the moment? If someone wants to, let's play that game. What's Amorim wrong about at the moment? I mean, I'm sure there are things, but Garnacho at the weekend, Chelsea fans are getting very impatient with him. Scores a goal, sits there on the advertising hordes like he's, you know, Billy Big Bollocks, hooked before an hour. Chelsea lose. That goal means absolutely nothing. You lost 2-1 to Sunderland and you got subbed off after an hour. Amorim was right. Jadon Sancho comes on as a sub for Bendia, gets subbed off himself. Amorim was right. Marcus Rashford, look, I don't know what went wrong there, but Man United win at the weekend. Barcelona. I think Amorim and Rashford, I just think they were right to part ways. But there's a lot of things like that Amorim's getting proved right about at the moment. And it just shows you that patience is the hardest skill to learn, especially in football. But at the moment, he is getting a lot of things right. Actually, you know what? Just on Jadon Sancho, I was reading an article about Sancho today. Apparently, he's just come back from illness. I don't know whether I'm right about this, but I don't know whether I don't know whether I'm mixing it up with somebody else. But I'm sure when he was at United, I'm sure I remember saying once, he must be the player that gets ill more than anybody else. And you know, a player gets a calf strain, a player gets a knee injury, a player gets, you know, concussion. I'm sure at United, Sancho got ill 3 or 4 times. And then at Villa, he's been ill again. He needs to get himself down and have a flu jab or something, like illness under. I mean, I don't know what. I don't know with Sancho. I mean, God forbid, you know, who knows what the underlying cause could be. But I mean, he missed 3 months at United. But it did, when I was reading the article, it did catch my eye that he's just come back from illness. And I was like, sure, he was ill at United a lot. Look, all I'd say about that is best of luck to the lad. I'm glad it's not our issue. The same with Garnacho. You know, I'm just so, you know, in relation to Garnacho, I'm just glad he's not our issue. I look at Mbeumo and Cunha. I look at Anfield. I look at Brighton. And I look at, if you just imagine an experiment for a moment, right? You take Mbeumo out the team and you put Garnacho in there for the last 2 games. Do we beat Brighton 4-2? Do we beat Liverpool 2-1? No. Fair weather player. No. We've seen it for the last 2 years, what happens with those types of players. This is the difference. Mentality, hard work, talent, consistency. The fact that some people still want to make out that Amorim was wrong to remove Garnacho and Sancho and Rashford for Cunha and Mbeumo. And we replaced 3 players with 2. And I still would take those 2 over 3 every day of the week. Every day of the week. Yeah. Sancho's on loan. Yeah, but he's out of contract in the summer, isn't he? Yeah. He's out of contract in the summer. And what an opportunity for United, by the way. I mean, to be sat where we are in the table at the moment, it's great. And you know what I really thought, it's Carabao Cup this week anyway, isn't it? So I'm not really bothered about that. But last week was a European week. And I'm like, oh, God, I miss European football for Manchester United. And hopefully we'll get it back. But the week flew by. You know, you beat Anfield, you beat Liverpool on the Sunday. And you're thinking, oh, European week, it's going to drag. And it absolutely flew by. And I'm sure it will do again. And, you know, it's only 3:00 on Saturday when we're playing again. And I'm just like, just can't wait to play. And then Spurs after that, can't wait to play. The next 2 games I'm really excited about because Liverpool at Anfield, they're going to have the ball. They're going to attack. Brighton, naive or not, they still think it's, 2019. They're still playing pass out from the back, risky Pep football. Different opportunities if you win the ball back. You've got lots of space. Forest and Spurs, they ain't going to commit like that. They're not going to pass out from the back. They're not going to leave themselves spaces at the back. So when we beat Forest on Saturday, which we will, we're going to beat a team that's a low block team. And when we go to Spurs and win, which I think we can, I'm not going to say we will, we'll be beating a Thomas Frank team. I think if we come out of those 2 games with 2 wins, or a win and a draw, they're different types of wins. And that's what you've got to do. You've got to play different types of teams. So the next 2 games I'm really looking forward to. Baleba should be playing out of his skin to prove he's a United player and make it impossible for us to walk away. The drop-off is not worth the risk, says Dave the Brave. Seth says, good days are coming from last season, starting to believe. Says Seth, got an assist. Barca's best attacker this season, says Robert McCormack. Mate, don't talk. Leave me out of it, Rob. Bob, leave me out of it. I'm just telling you that Barcelona fans were getting on his back. I didn't watch the game. I don't know. Seth says, I feel bad for Cunha on one side, and Mbeumo got Ahmad, Cunha got Dalot. Need 1 midfielder in January, 1 super midfielder in the summer, and 1 good left wing back. What a week for United, says Seth. Has to be all pinned on Lemens, last piece of the confidence pie. Defenders don't have an enemy behind them at all times. Visible change in the defence. I like Lemens' junkyard, James, but I think that's really offensive to try and say that the reason we've beaten Liverpool and Brighton is all because we've got a goalkeeper. It's made a massive difference, but I don't think it's just down to that. Building your future around Casemiro is like finding a field with a big red sign, the entrance saying warning, may contain landmines, then thinking what a great place to build my new property, says Nick P. Wondered where that was going to go, but did make sense. Well done. Do you think we need a wing back as well, says Shen? Well, I don't like Dalot at left wing back. So if he's the first choice left wing back, we do. I personally would like to develop Dorgu, and I think he is good enough. He's only just turned 21. But yeah, I think the width is so important in an Amorim system. You probably do need to bring players in there. Hello, Mark. I ordered a sweatshirt to Nigeria. When can shipping start? If it's the Christmas jumper, they are shipping the first week in November. So it's pre-orders at the moment. Yeah. United will go for a midfield. Okay. Is the kitchen still not done, says Kazim? Last week. I tell you what, if it's done next week, I'll do a live stream from the kitchen next Monday morning, having beaten Forest as well. That'll be good, won't it? Great show this morning. You just can't put him in same conversation as Sancho, says Robert McCormack. Who? Rashford? Well, I didn't. I was using, it was called Amorim is right. Was Amorim right to remove Rashford? Yes, but I said like it was right for both parties to go. Was Amorim right to remove Garnacho? I don't think Garnacho wanted to go. I think he got booted. Amorim was right. We're playing a game of Amorim is right. And Amorim is right on all the removals he's made this summer. That's what I'm saying. A lot of people said Amorim was wrong to ask for 2 10s and a striker over a midfielder. Only at the end of the season will we know if it was right. Well, Glenn, that's very dangerous, what you're saying there. That is very, very dangerous, Glenn. Because that is not what Amorim asked for. It's a well-known fact that Amorim wanted a midfielder. And they didn't get him one. He didn't say, get me 2 midfielders, get me 2 number 10s, instead of a midfielder. He didn't do that. The club didn't get him a midfielder, which is different. Like, he wanted a midfielder. We even tried to get Conor Gallagher in the last week of the window. So Amorim wanted a midfielder. You know, when you're a manager, you go, that's what I want, and you give it to your board. Your board then has to deliver. Amorim didn't go, just don't worry about midfield, get me 2 10s. We did try, and he wanted midfielders. That's why we spoke to Baleba. That's why we tried to get Conor Gallagher. So, you know, if we don't get top 5 because we didn't buy a midfielder, I don't think that's on Amorim. I think that's on the board. Andrew Park says, sadly, Martinez is done. This is a big statement, Andrew. Any player with an ACL injury never recovers fully, according to research by UPMC. Falcao is the perfect example. Well, Alan Shearer did pretty good. Did his ACL in the 90s. 1992, I think, which was 33 years ago. And he went on to become the all-time Premier League goal scorer on a much more demanding pitch. So I don't think it's a be-all and end-all. I do agree some players struggle to come back from ACLs, but there's countless players that have done it. So fingers crossed. I mean, look, you might get proven right, Andrew. He's a very combative player with a weakened knee. That could be problematic, but there's every reason to believe that he can come back. Yeah. Why have we not spoken about how bad Mainu is when he came on? Time to sell whilst we still can, says Dave the Brave. Well, that is a brave comment from Dave. Can we pick that up at 8 o'clock? Because we're right at the end of the show now, and we've done a good full hour, and I don't want to waste what would be a very good 5 to 10 minute conversation at the end of the show. So we can certainly pick that up at 8 o'clock. I mean, I'm not going to lead on it at 8 o'clock, but we'll bring it into the 8 o'clock show, because I actually agree that Mainu is a topic of conversation that I had with somebody this morning before I did the stream. So definitely we'll come back into that, because I want Mainu to play. I think a lot of you want Mainu to play, but I think, you know, if you look at Agate, he made a difference when he came on. If you're coming on as a sub for Manchester United at the moment, you've got to come on like Heaven, like Agate, hungry to make a difference, competing for places. You can't come on and just be complacent. And, you know, there's no excuse for that. The team is buzzing. You know, you need to come on and grab your opportunity. Why isn't he grabbing that opportunity? I think there's a very good reason, which we'll discuss at 8 o'clock. Thanks everybody for watching this morning. Absolutely fantastic start to the week. Make sure you smash a like and subscribe as always. We are back at 2 o'clock, and it's an 8 o'clock show tonight. So hopefully everybody's starting to adjust to the +1 hour. I was reading today, actually, I didn't realize that there's a weird period where we're normally 5 hours ahead of New York, but for the next week or so we're 4 hours, because the clocks don't go back in New York or the East Coast until the first week of November. So I always thought it was a European thing, but apparently clocks do go back around the world in different areas as well. So hopefully everybody's starting to get up to speed now that for the last 24 hours, the clocks have gone back an hour in the UK, which is probably messing up with some of you. But yeah, I should have explained that at the start. Thanks everyone for watching. Great show this morning. Really enjoying it. I'm hoping to do an FC26 Man United career mode at about 5 o'clock today on my channel as well, because we're coming towards the end of season 1. And I tell you what, I'm better than Amorim. I'm in a bloody title race. Speak to you all in a bit. Take care, and thanks for watching.